Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our meta pals out there? In today's episode, we'll be discussing intuitive coaching, psychic development, and angel channeling with psychic medium Sarah Itkin. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
We are very excited to have you on.
I'm very excited to be here.
I will say, I think you are our first guest who has specifically emphasized that they channel angels. We've had guests that talk about they can communicate with occasionally or have had experiences with angels, but never one that has said that they can channel angels. So this is very exciting for me.
Thank you.
I always love learning about something new and the grand array of gifts that exists out there. So my first question for you is, how long have you been able to channel angels?
I would say I have been able to channel for about 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And before then, I didn't even know that. I barely thought about the existence of angels, and I had no idea that I would ever be able to do something like this.
That's amazing. Did you have any, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. Did you have any other gifts surface prior to that, or did it all kind of just start to come in about 12 years ago?
Well, when I think I was around 18, I had my first psychic dream that unfortunately was very sad. I had a dream that one of my best friends passed away, and it was very, very, very detailed. And then a year and a half later, I received the message that she passed away, and everything that happened in my dream came true. So I, at that time, knew that I was psychic, but it was just, well, what am I going to do about it? Nothing. It was just happening in dreams. Yeah, it's like, what? What can I do? What should I do? And the only answer I had was like, nothing. Just live your best life. And you know what I mean? I just didn't even think about it.
Well, especially at 18, right?
Yeah. And so, and then when I was 21, a cousin of mine who was older was sick with cancer, and he had, I told him, he didn't believe in the afterlife. And so I told him that when he passed away, he would give me a sign that he was around or that I was right. And so at his funeral, I heard the name Peter. And then I said, "Who's Peter?" And then the man sitting next to me introduced himself and said, "Hi, I'm Jack," who was my cousin. I'm Jack's friend. I've been his friend since I was 2. And so I knew that I could connect to deceased spirits, and I knew I had these psychic abilities, but I didn't even think about angels or channeling at all.
Have you found now that you are into your journey, a lot further into the journey, that those dreams, like the prophetic dreams that you had, are more consistent, or how often does that happen for you still?
What's so interesting is that my dreams became actually too intense. And I was I would say the last straw was I had a dream. I was a therapist, and I had a dream about a very traumatic event that happened to my client that I did not know. And this dream was like as if I was suffering like PTSD. I went through the entire event and how I survived, and it was so detailed. And then a few days later, she told me about her life, and she told me what happened when she survived a war. And it was everything that happened in my dream. Her actions were the actions I took. And so I said, enough is enough. Like, this is crazy. I need to do something with my psychic gifts. And then once I found my teacher, I stopped having those dreams. So I do have psychic dreams every so often. I had a dream that something big was going to happen before COVID, and something that was like going to release a lot of toxic energy in my life and in the world, and then COVID happened. But now I can't remember the last psychic dream I actually had. Now it's all just happening in real time.
Yeah, I wonder if it was manifesting in your dreams because it was closed off during the day. And now that you are just utilizing it way more often, sleep's like, nope, we're here to rest and reset.
Exactly. That's such a good point.
Now, how did you find your teacher?
So this was another what I call synchronicity or co-space incident incidents. Um, my friend who had passed away introduced me to the world of psychics and mediums and angels. And her younger sister, after she passed away, I connected with her sisters, and her younger sister, Rachel, was working with a teacher. And she was a psychic development teacher and just a sweet woman who lived in the neighborhood. And so I met her, and she told me what she did. And I was like, wow, I'd love to learn how to develop my psychic abilities. But then it was like, well, why? And what a waste of time and money, you know? So I just put it off. And then a year later is when I had that really intense dream. And so I knew immediately once I had that dream, I called her right away. It just felt like she was, and subconsciously, I mean, I was asking for a spiritual teacher. I really wanted to develop spiritually, but I had no idea that meant connecting with spirit. So
It's literal.
I asked and she came. Yeah, I had that was not part of my plan.
I feel like it never is. Like the universe is like,
Right.
well, this is what you think, but this is what it's going to be.
Exactly.
When you first started having these dreams, was it something that you kind of maybe passed off as like maybe I had too much spicy food the night before?
Yeah.
Or was it right? Like, was it something that would just felt like kind of weird and out of place? And then it was like, oh, I'll never have that dream again. Like, is that kind of how you felt? And how did you know that, oh no, this is quite a bit more? And like, was there other factors like reoccurring dreams?
Well, my dream about my friend who passed away was
Hmm.
so extraordinarily vivid and terrible. And I had never had a dream like that I actually called her right as I woke up in the morning to see if she was still alive. And that was so terrifying and something that's never happened to me before. And the dream that I had about my client who passed away, that whole experience, I remember I was actually awake, and then I was falling asleep and I heard a zap sound, and then I saw it, but I was sleeping, but it was very lucid, the blanket falling over my
Hmm.
head, and then I proceeded to have that dream, and that was different than anything else I had ever had before. And when I think about it, I'm thinking that, I tell people it's like when you ignore a calling or you ignore something that is very, very important about yourself or about your life, sometimes spirit will push you. And so that's what I feel like had happened in these two very distinctive dreams. Otherwise, I always had crazy dreams, but nothing like those dreams. So they did stand out. I did know that something was weird.
Well, right, because I mean, it's people that you know, and then when it's so intense like that, it's hard to ignore something like that. Especially, you wake up and it's like, oh God, I need to call somebody. I need to figure out what's going on and move forward with it. And is there? I guess the other question I had is because I also dream like crazy stuff, and I've had some weird prophetic dreams here and there throughout my life, and like just the other day, I dreamt I went to it was a musical with my dad. It was like a Harry Potter musical of all things, which was kind of cool.
Amazing.
Um, yeah, I was like, "Ooh, this is awesome." But then one of the songs one of the only songs I remember hearing there was "Royals" by Lord,
Hmm.
and it was a very because I had just talked to somebody, maybe it was you guys, about like talking about dreams and if you hear music or not in your dream. I was thinking to myself, I was like, I don't know if I really hear music in my dream. And then that night, I hear this song, and I wake up. I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely heard that song in my dream because it was very vivid. And then I talked to my dad, or I told my dad about the dream, but I didn't tell him about the song. And then he goes to turn on his new stereo, and first song he plays is Royals by Lord. And
Wow.
so I'm like, why did you play that? He's like, I like this song. I'm like, yeah, but you don't play this song. Like, this is it's
Right.
a weird song to be out of nowhere. And so I don't know, like, if that kind of thing, like, do you have other dreams like that are like prophetic and kind of feed into? Because obviously it seems like you have a gift with a lot of different things when it comes to your dreams.
Yeah, well, and for you, it sounds like you're definitely clairvoyant, which is being psychic and ability to see into the future, or even seeing into the present or past, like in your mind's eye or in your dreams. But I really can count maybe I don't remember having a lot of psychic dreams like that. Um, I just remember having a dream about, well, my grandfather came to me and told me when he was going to die, and that was very vivid. And at that point, my friend Rebecca had passed away. So I knew to say, okay, my grandpa will die in this amount of time. And he did. I knew at that time that it was a warning because the dream that I had about my friend Rebecca felt like a warning that she was going to die. And then I had another dream about somebody else dying, and that was like someone that I didn't know very well. So I was like, all right, this is a little too much. I don't want to dream about people dying anymore.
No.
Yeah, the dream world is just a fascinating space for me, and I I love that yours has translated into a waking world, that you have put it into these gifts that you can use with people. Now, I am very curious about angel channeling. And
Yes.
you said that 12 years ago is when you started connecting with angels. So, how did that manifest?
Well, my very first experience with angels was when there was a self proclaimed teacher, like spiritual teacher, who actually wasn't a very good person. But I was young and naive, and so I spent a lot of time with him. And he was a co-owner of a store. And I was in that store and I saw a little spark of light. And the first thought was, this is a celestial being. I didn't even think angels. It was just like, the second thought was, no, you're not special enough. And then I actually told him, and he was like, oh, there's probably something wrong with your eyes. And then I actually went to the ophthalmologist,
Oh,
and
no.
he said, a lot of people come to us, they're seeing these little sparks, but there's nothing wrong with your eyes, but it must be some sort of anomaly. And then years passed because I just was like, all right, well, it's nothing. And then when I started working with my teacher, she taught me about the angels. And that's when I started to see angel signs. And so I started to see repetitive number patterns, and each number pattern has a meaning. So right now, actually, a lot of people are aware they're called angel numbers. And so I kept seeing them like on the same number on license plates. And I park in front of a house with the same number, look at the clock with the same number. And then that started to happen with a bunch of numbers. So I knew that they were starting to communicate with me. And then she actually just had taught me how to do automatic handwriting. And that is an exercise. If you want, I can explain it later. But basically, it's just kind of like getting yourself into a meditative state and just free writing. But when I was doing that, I was coming up with these really deep insights and also language that didn't sound like me. And also my spelling was actually really good, which never happens. And so and at first it's just like, oh, I could be making this up. And then, which is but then you have to say, well, if I'm making this up, it's really my soul connecting to the universe because this is truly coming to me. This information is coming to me. And then I started to ask for signs that, my channeling was right when I was doing the automatic handwriting. And then I started to see the angels on the page. So that was really helpful. And that's how I started. Then, I mean, when I was learning, I could only do it through like journal, like doing this exercise, like writing. But I got to a certain place where I was able to do it before giving a reading. And then it happened naturally. My teacher didn't know that I was going to be able to be an angel channel. She just kind of threw all these different tools at me to see what would land. And so then it took me practice, but now, I just sit and I can channel them whenever I want to. And I think the thing about channeling that most people don't realize is that it comes through in your own mental voice. So I believe that people are getting messages from angels or spirit guides or whatever your higher power is, whatever resonates for you. For me, it's angels, and not realizing it. I also got a lot of different angel signs because I was very skeptical, and I asked for proof. I kept asking for proof, and I got these incredible signs, and I don't know if you want me to share. But,
oh, yes, please.
Oh, okay. Well, the first thing that happened was when I was at work, I was a therapist, and it never really felt like a fit. I knew I wanted to help people, but I was having a hard time like working at different agencies, and that's where I was at the time, working for an agency. And I was writing my notes and listening to Pandora, the Pandora station, to the classical station, because I can't pay attention when people are like singing. And my supervisor came in, and I saw these sparks of light. And I said, okay, if you're angels, then play Pachelbel Canon on the next song on Pandora. And so that song came on. Pachelbel Canon came on, right? The next song. And then I said, oh, okay, I don't really believe you yet. This is what I do. This is what I always do.
No, I love that. I would be the same way.
Now I trust. I'm like, no, I need another sign. No, I need another sign. No, you know what I mean? So until I finally was believing. But I said, if you're angels, then play my favorite song on the radio when I drive home. And so I was in my car driving home, and then I was like, oh crap, I forgot to turn on the radio. And then I turned on the radio, and my favorite song was playing. I'm getting chills right now. And my favorite song was playing. I know, it was so amazing. And it was a special live version on NPR.
Oh, that's so cool.
Once in a lifetime. And so I was like, all right, I'm a believer.
Yeah, it's not something that's just like playing 30 times on the radio a day.
Yeah, exactly. And so following that, I was in my bedroom, because what happened was I kept doubting. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'd have something happen, then I would doubt. So, shortly after that, I was in my bedroom, and I heard a clicking sound, and I looked up. It was coming from my ceiling. And I look up, and there's a feather, a big white fluffy feather floating down from the ceiling. And so one signs that angels leave are feathers. And so there was no way, they know me, they knew that I could have said, this is from my down comforter, this is from my down winter coat. And so they were like, we're going to make it come from the ceiling and have a clicking sound so she can't doubt it.
I love that, though. Those are fantastic signs. So with the angel numbers that you were seeing everywhere, we hear people reference angel numbers. What exactly are angel numbers? Okay, so when I asked the angels why they communicate through numbers, they said it's because numbers were our first language, and I guess that goes with math. I don't know. I don't know much about that sort of thing. But so angel numbers are basically like, instead of using letters to communicate, they will use a specific number, and each number has a meaning. So when you see a number sequence, or like one number, two number, three number, whatever, four, you will recognize that those are angels getting your attention. And I don't know like how people actually figured out the meaning, of each number. There's a website called Joanne Sacred Scribes, and she has an index for every single number. But so
I mean, 1111. That's the number that got everybody's attention. Somehow, somewhere in time, someone decided that you make a wish when you see 1111.
I'm so guilty of that.
Oh my
Me
God, like
too.
we have
Yeah.
to make wishes
Seriously.
ever again.
I have to. Every time I see 1111, I'm like,
Yeah.
guys, make a wish.
Make a wish.
1111, is that I've been seeing that like all the time lately. Is there a reason, or is it just
Yes, there is a reason. I'm so excited.
It's just so exciting.
It's very exciting. So 1111 means that it's like positive new beginnings, and it's also the gateway number, so that you'll start to notice more number patterns. And so I believe firmly that the angels are knocking down on our door now more than ever. They want as many people who are receptive to this to be able to communicate with them, because their mission is to help us be human beings. And so right now, our planet is evolving and devolving and chaos. So what I'm finding is and this is why I enjoy teaching so much, is that more and more people are getting these number patterns, and it's bringing attention to them. And again, I think for angels, it's just, I don't know, numbers are the easiest, and dropping feathers on people or trying to whisper in people's ears.
The guys know I've been seeing 111. So not 1111, but 111 at least, and I am not exaggerating, 40 times a day. I was screenshotting or taking pictures every time I saw it, but it got so excessive that I'm like, oh, forget it. I see it. I'm aware. That's what matters.
Yeah, that number means paying attention to what you're thinking about, because you're a powerful manifester. Like, your thoughts are very powerful.
So I should be aware of what I'm thinking about in that moment.
Yes, exactly. And so I think people are seeing the numbers because they are being called to connect with their angels.
I love that. So for you, I know you said that when the angels communicate with you, oftentimes it's your own mental voice you hear it through. Do you know, like, are there specific angels that you connect to that you're aware of, or is it just it's an angelic being?
When I'm channeling, I think about angels as a collective consciousness.
Okay.
And so the ones that are like little white sparks of light that I see, I kind of feel like they're in this, just each little spark of light is just like a sweet little angel. But when I'm channeling, it comes from just all of the angelic realm, is what I believe. But then we have archangels. And archangels, each archangel has a specific healing power, and they're kind of considered to be like a hierarchy. They are in charge of the other angels. And so I know when I'm connecting to a particular archangel, because I can see they each have a different light ray. And so a light will, instead of just a white spark, it'll be like a blue orb or a red light or a yellow light, or a big white flash. And then I'll know that an archangel is connecting with me.
So when you say the light or flash, it's something you're visibly seeing out, or is it a mental color flash?
Yeah, I actually started to see them outside of myself.
Okay.
And people can see angels in different ways. It's depicted in like Christian or Catholic iconography of them, being white people with wings on them. And I don't believe that angels they're not like people, and they don't have race or necessarily gender. So that might be why I see them as lights. But you can see them in different ways. And if you can't see them, you can feel them or hear them.
So I'm going to get a little weird for a moment. Because you said that.
Weird.
Today, I was doing yoga. That's going to sound cliche, but I was having a yoga session. And when I was looking down at my carpet, I kept seeing flashes of like a green green
gosh,
orb.
that's so cool.
And I'm like, what in the world? And at first, because, I'm one of those default to the 3D world beings, I'm like, did someone mark her on my carpet? And I'm like trying to move it while I'm a down dog. And I'm like, oh no, because it's moving. And I'm like, okay, that's not a marker. But I've never seen or experienced anything like that, like a
Yeah.
green light And but it wasn't quite like a light, like something refracting off of something else. So
Yeah.
it was interesting that you're talking about that, because I'm like, ooh, what is green? What does green mean?
Well, green is actually Archangel Raphael, who's the healer of physical, emotional healing and healer of healers.
Well, that's neat.
I often see Archangel Raphael on people's body parts that need healing, or around their shoulders or hearts if their heart's hurting, or around their hands, around their bodies if they are healers and they don't realize it. They have healing hands.
That's so
crazy.
Yeah,
cool.
that's so cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh,
So
thank you.
now, when you see those on people, like the archangel orbs or lights, I don't know how to say that. When you see that on people,
Mhm.
does that mean that the angel is present with them, or is that the angel guiding you to show you this is what needs work?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would say both.
Okay.
And the angel is using me as a messenger to tell that person that that angel is present for them, so that's they can connect to that particular angel. But yeah, especially with Archangel Raphael, it's a guidance. It's like, oh, how's your elbow? Oh, my elbow's killing me. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to get information for you about your elbow.
Okay, look at my hands. No, I'm
yeah.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm joking. BJ, did you have a question?
You talked about the angels and what they wanted for us is to be human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was very interesting. And I don't, what exactly does that mean? They want us to be like in human, but I guess in relation, what else would they want us to be? Like if we're not human, what are you?
What I meant was that they want to help us exist as humans, because being a human being is probably the hardest thing that anybody could ever do. And and in the spirit realm, when I see people who pass away, it's just beautiful. It's like it's heaven, or whatever you believe, in, that you feel that's just a beautiful, peaceful world with no ego. And then being an angel, I think to myself, well, they're very high vibrational beings, so they're not going to be worried about the stuff that we're worried about, and they don't have egos basically, and we do. And we also have to cope with what's happening in the world and what's happening with our families, and how we're absorbing as empaths negative fears and belief patterns from other people that we don't even realize. And so that's why I also learned, because I'm Jewish, and in Judaism, the angels, that's when like I guess the first writings or descriptions of angels were in the Jewish text called the Torah. But they said that the angels were messengers from God. And I do see them as also messengers I do believe in God, but you don't have to believe in God in order to work with your angels. You can just simply think, okay, they are here to help me be. They are literally here to help me be. But they respect free will. And I think that if your heart is calling for an angel, and I didn't know that I was asking for an angel, but they appeared, so you are probably asking for angels, or for guidance. Your soul wants to connect, and so they're showing up for you. And I think if anybody says, I want to call in my angels, the angels are already there. They just are waiting.
They're very patient.
They're waiting, and they're not waiting, because they're showing us the angel numbers and all these signs, and they're like, come on.
They're like, come
wait.
on, numbers, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So many questions. The dream stuff. So we talked about this before. I also had a dream where like I died and I went to heaven, and I basically came back to earth, and they told me to, spread kindness, and if people don't know how to do it, teach them. And that was like the overwhelming thing that I got out of it. And it was very much, it was on the Day of the Dead. It was very much, I went to the world of the dead. It was actually like The Walking Dead. I met Rick Grimes in my dream, which was really weird. But then I went up to heaven, came back down, and yeah, it was a weird. It felt my body was when I came back into my body, I didn't know who I was for a minute. I had to figure out like where I was and who I was again, because everything else was so emotional. Like you were just talking about, when you're not a human anymore, there's love, there's this emotion, there's this spiritual, there's all this feeling that you have. But then when you come back, you're in your brain again, and that's the only way I can describe it, is you're thinking again. You're detached from that, and to make that transition for me was very weird and very like a little like disappointing, because again it was like, oh
Mm.
no, I don't feel the way I felt like when I was asleep, and now I'm back on earth and everything is, oh, this is who I am again. And it was just a very weird spiritual but also amazing situation. And like, when you go through something like that, you want to experience it again. And I guess, I don't my question is, when you channel angels or when you go into these feelings and these how do you do it? Like, how do you get back there? Is it just something easy that comes to you, or is it kind of?
Yeah, that dream, by the way, sounds like amazing. Like that's incredible. You
Yeah.
must have like major gifts to share. Um, so I don't go into like a trance where the angels like take over my body and I lose consciousness, because that really scares me. I don't like that. So basically, I'm still here, Sarah's here, but it's like someone's talking to me. And I'm so used to saying they because I just know I'm not hearing millions of voices. I'm hearing my mental voice, but I know it's not mine because they're sharing information that I would never know, like usually, um, for a person, or just really nice things with really good grammar. And but I'm here and I'm listening. Like, were you in your dream? It sounds like you really were propelled to another dimension, which is amazing.
It felt that way, but I'm also like, I've never had it before and I haven't had it since. So it's kind of one of those things where I would love to develop something, to, because it's always, for me, it's always been in my dreams. It's never been outside of that realm where I felt
Yeah.
anything like that. So, and is that kind of how it happened with you? Started with dreams and then kind of moved from there?
Yeah, it only started with dreams. And a lot of my students will be a little intimidated because they'll say, "Oh, well, I don't know if I can do this, if I'm whatever have the abilities to do this." But they've had way more psychic experiences in their waking life than I did. And you, if you had, the right to tutelage, or if you found a path, and I teach a class, by the way, but your gifts would probably just, like, you'd be so surprised about your abilities because you've had such an amazing experience already and your dreams are so clairvoyant.
For you, it sounds like you have this intuitive knowing because you are, I feel like, always connected, plugged in to the angels. It's just when, you're ready for the messages, they come through. And I know with BJ and myself, it almost feels like through the dream world, it's not controllable. Like it's just when it
Yeah,
happens,
exactly.
when it occurs. So I know he and I tend to be really like, wow, that's so cool when we meet someone who can just like access their gifts on demand, because it does feel like we tend to be at the whims of our dreams.
Mm. Well, and that's the thing, is like everybody can do it on demand. Everybody, even people who are just have no idea, that don't think about spirituality at all. We all have this ability. Um, and I like to say I think it's proven because in every single, I didn't study, in all the indigenous people, but indigenous peoples that I do know about, all of them have relied on, life using their intuitive abilities and their abilities to connect to their higher power. And so I believe that we have those abilities too, but in our society, they've oftentimes, with a lot of us, have been stifled. But since you guys are having such amazing dreams, that would be easy to learn how to do it for you, just like me. Like you are not any different from I am. I just studied, and it turned out to be my path to do this work.
Did you also study like the angel, is it the light language? So am I getting that wrong?
No, can't relate to it.
I was just curious. We've heard so many things come up with angels, so
Yeah, the light language sounds amazing. I just never heard it. I sometimes to me it sounds a little funny, but I know that it's real. But probably because I think it sounds funny, I probably don't hear any of it myself, or it's just not my way.
Sounds like with your automatic writing, you don't really need the light language because you're already communicating with
Mm,
them. I feel like with the light, at least, and granted, the angels are not my realm, so I don't know, but
hmm
it sounds like people use the light language to communicate with the angels, and you're already there. So,
Well, I think when I've heard people speak the light language, they're totally channeling
Mhm.
the angelic realm, and it's coming out through their language. Um, but but yeah, I'm not quite sure actually. I don't know a lot about it, but it sounds really amazing.
I don't know much about it either.
I guess the big thing is just be curious, right? And be open to all of those things and to see if there's something that clicks with you, right? Especially with the things that you
hmm
experience, because it could be something that's very, very unique to you. And then, but the light language or whatever, really, really identifies with something that you're dealing with and gotta kind of search it out. And with you, when you started to have all these not just the dreams, but all the channeling and all of the things, was it one specific thing that you wanted to search out, or was it like a variety of things? You're like, I want to do all of the psychic things that I can to figure out where I'm best, where I can feel it the most, or what I can do the most with my gifts. Like, was there a filling out
hmm
process with that?
My only intention was to stop having these intrusive dreams and to never have a dream about trauma that doesn't belong to me ever again. And that was my only intention. My only thought was I need to do something to harness my gifts, and I didn't know that it meant any of this. I couldn't have. I had no clue, but I definitely wouldn't. If you told me then I would be a psychic on demand, or getting information on demand, or channeling angels, I would, and a medium, I would just probably pass out. That was not. I just had no idea. All I knew was like I don't want to keep having these dreams.
Did you find that your community was receptive to your stepping into these gifts and being, embracing it and being out loud about it?
It was really tricky. Like I would say there's like this coming forward process. And I'm born and raised in Rochester, New York, and that's where I was living when all this happened. And it's not like a place like Boulder, Colorado, or Sedona,
Right.
where I'm a dime a dozen, you know what I mean? Where there are these like healing communities of healers. And so it was at first when I told my family, I have like my immediate family and then like a clan, they were concerned about me, and especially when I decided to do this as a career, especially that they were worried about me because they didn't understand what was going on, and it was scary for them. And but then as they saw that I was okay, and they then let me give them readings. But I some of my friends, it was rare, like someone told me that I was really weird, but that was about it. All my other friends had accepted me. But one thing I did was because I'm very sensitive, very, very sensitive. And I do not like, if I feel like I'm being criticized or ostracized or looked down upon, I feel terrible. And I asked the angels if I could tell people who would be receptive and who wouldn't be mean to me. And that's pretty much what happened. People from all walks of life. I was very surprised, very, very surprised. Like work in the corporate world and, just thinking about math all the time or something like science. People who I guess you could tell like didn't intentionally follow a spiritual path. And I would tell them I was like blown away that they didn't think I was weird. And I'm sure a lot of people did think I was weird, but they're nice enough not to tell me.
But I love that you had your angel team, though, to support you and help
Yeah.
to say, okay, these people, we're going to help ease you into being able to talk about this. I love that. I love that you had that metaphysical support, the spiritual support, but that
Yeah.
also your family embraced it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was scared when I was in like a very I would say Christian conservative group of people once in Texas, and they asked me what I did, and I don't want to say that I'm biased against anybody with religion, but kind of knowing that sometimes people believe that you might be talking to the devil, and I didn't know who would believe those things. And some people did actually ask me if I was talking to the devil or how I didn't know that I wasn't talking to the devil. And so, but luckily, I didn't live in a community like that, which made it a lot easier for me.
I don't see bias at all. I grew up in a very Bible Belt area of Texas, so I understand the concern of
Okay.
growing up in that area. And like, I did have a lot of paranormal experiences growing up. It was that, the devil's trying to possess you? And it's just like, oh no.
Oh, that's so traumatic and awful oh, that's terrible.
So I get your concern.
Yeah.
It's understandable. But definitely, we are luckily embracing an age where people are starting to be more open to that and not assume you're being possessed by the devil. So,
Yes. I think that we're really evolving. This is part of our evolution.
what I love is that we have people that are finding ways to walk multiple paths and combine into a beautiful one. So, for example, we have people that are in the metaphysical realm, but also psychologists, therapists, scientists, and it all comes together. It's not either or. And with you,
Yeah.
you're able to have faith and still be in a realm where people might say is against faith, right? It's against God or against XYZ. And you're like, no, I have it all, and it works together. So I do love that is people are able to realize it's not one or the other. You can have multiple facets work together in like a cohesive unit.
Thank you. That's so beautifully put. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for being willing to share all of this with us. Now, I do have a question. On your site, you mentioned theta healing. What is that?
Theta healing is a form of energy healing that's hands off, and it's working with your belief patterns. And it was created by Vienna Steibel. And if you look up theta healing, there's a whole website, and she basically downloaded from her guides this method of healing, and she used it to help people heal physically. So you can use it for physical healing. I don't feel like my purpose and my healing modality is to do these intense physical healings. I do feel like emotional healing is more of like my jam. And so she created, it's like through these meditational prayers. She'll say a meditational prayer. She created this specific prayer. And then what happens is you identify this root belief that's causing all these negative belief patterns and all these programs that you just can't seem to get rid of. Like, for example, a lot of people worry about money, and they try to try not to have so much lack, but they can't help it because they have this ingrained subconscious root belief around lack. And so you kind of identify that, and then you use this prayer to ask to clear it. And I say prayer, but it's not a religious, this is not a religious thing, but they do work what they call the creator. So they teach us to work with the creator. And then these words just help clear out these negative beliefs, and then you download new programs with the client's permission, and the new programs are these positive beliefs, and they basically, through another prayer, you download the beliefs. And so I can hear the way I know how to download a belief is because I hear it. I I'm working with my client's soul. So their actual soul, their higher self will tell me what to download so that they can reprogram their brain, belief patterns. And then I also hear it from spirit. And so I keep hearing them and hearing these new beliefs, and I download them. And until by the end of the session, I know when to stop. And then we go back and test through muscle testing to see if the person still had that original belief, negative belief, and they're always gone. I would say I have a 98% success rate. It's awesome.
When you say download, what does that mean? How are you downloading?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, okay, sorry. So it's like thinking about like you take on a new belief, but you're sitting there and not doing it. Like someone is, but I guess the word downloading, it's like how you think about it. It's hard to explain, but if you think about like on a computer where you're like downloading a new program, you just do something on the computer and then it downloads. It's like the belief, the new positive belief becomes ingrained and in your system because of this like energy healing at play. Does that make sense? So you can sit there and know that you may never believe that that you're unconditionally loved, but through this work, that belief is like imprinted into your mind.
So you're downloading what they need based on what communication you're exchanging with their soul. So are you then transmitting that download through like the energetic connection that you have with them when you're in the session?
Yes, that's a much better way of putting it than I was explaining.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah.
I just like my brain is just sometimes slow. So
and it's always with the client's permission. And so really it's like they're the ones, like their soul is connected to spirit, like spirit exists within your soul. So they're really the ones that are allowing me to help them. And that's just how I work, and other people who do theta healing could work like differently than that.
Similar to what BJ asked earlier, is there something you have to do to prepare yourself or a space that you have to go into to be able to download? Or is it just something you have learned to kind of automatically connect to?
It's just kind of like a flip of a switch, where I'm just like me, Sarah, like luckily I only hear things when I want to. Well, I mean, sometimes things will just pop in, but it's like, oh, it's nice. You know what I mean? It's like a message from a loved one, but I'm not bombarded by all these messages and intuitive hits where I'm like, you know, in my mind's like hearing like the voice of the angels through my mind. Especially around other people. Luckily, I just sit and it's like, boop. But that was a skill too. And I learned that through meditating, through particular meditations. But then once you are accustomed to using those meditations, you just do your little flip of a switch and then you're there.
Are there different spaces that you have to connect to within yourself in order to connect to the different entities, whether it's the angel collective or deceased loved ones or animals? Is there different spaces or is it all coming from the same space?
It all feels like it comes from the same space. But if I'm connecting to a spirit guide, that feels different from an angel, that feels different from deceased loved one, and that feels different from like an animal guide. That makes sense. But I'm just kind of receiving it all through the same space, the same way.
I have a question that goes along those lines. So when you connect to a deceased loved one, where are they? Or do they ever mention where they are or how they're connecting? Like, because that's one thing that, you know, has always been on my mind. Obviously, most people, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I call it like the other side. And what I see is actually pretty vague. I see, so the spirit, first of all, spirits can be many different places at once. Um, and they're always with us. They can be with us. And spirits who are especially close to us, who've passed away recently, you can really feel their presence really strongly. But where I see them on the other side is a beautiful, just like I guess I feel more of the energy. I see beautiful energy, lights. if people, I think I see people's view of what they thought the afterlife would be. People who were Catholic or Christian, I would see them with Jesus and holding crosses and smiling and being with like Mother Mary. And then there's someone funny who loved golfing. Like his heaven on earth is just golfing. And so I could see him, golfing. And then actually my dad recently passed away. And before he passed away, he was kind of in between worlds. And he was like, I see this place with lights and it's beautiful. And I feel so beautiful and I feel so peaceful. And that is usually what I see when I'm giving readings. But I don't see a heaven. I don't believe in hell. And I only connect with spirits who cross over. So I guess when I see like the place that they're in, what they're showing is just a big smile and showing how peaceful they are and that they get to do these things, or it's just kind of like a metaphor. If they couldn't dance because they were in a wheelchair in life, and they love to dance, they're showing me dancing. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing them dancing in a beautiful space. So it's not as concrete as I would have thought. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. My biggest thing is like when I think about it and I think talking to the other side is, for me it's like, do I hear a faint message because they're so far away? It's for me it's like a weird kind of, is it a spatial thing? Is it like, are they still like where they died? They're right here. I'm right here. Are you able to channel with them in a deeper way, depending on your location? Or like you said, they could be many places at once. So it's just kind of just depends, right?
I think that, yeah, I mean, I think that um, it doesn't matter the location, and sometimes you might hear it faintly because it's your filter, or the message, they just might be quiet. And sometimes I hear things loudly if it's like a big emphasis, if a spirit is really trying to emphasize something. But I kind of feel like you don't need to be anywhere, but being in places where you feel like spirits will show me that they want their loved one to go to their favorite spot on the lake in the mountain, and or to the ocean or to their cabin. And it's because it makes that person feel happy, but it's also because it makes the person feel connected.
How did you discover that you could connect people with their animal companions or spirit animals?
Well, it was really funny. I was giving someone a reading at his house, and his dog licked me. And then in my mind, again, it's all in my mental voice, I heard, I love you. And then, of course, I'm like, well, every dog loves you. I mean, like, what dog doesn't love you? So I was about to just blow it off. And then the animal's person said, he never licks anybody. He doesn't like anybody. And so I was like, oh, wow, I can connect to animals. Now, since animals have souls, just like humans do, I realize there's no difference after they pass away. There's no difference connecting to an animal or a person because they also go to the other side. And so it's like they have a soul, we have a soul. Our soul, I think, has the energy in which assuming I'm reading, it's like they're emitting energy, and so I can read that energy. And I even so when that dog, spoke to me, I guess the dog was still alive. I realized I could talk to alive animals. But then I was just giving readings on in downtown Boulder, there's a mall, like an outdoor walking mall, and I just set up a table when I first started and just gave people readings. And a girl asked if I could connect to her turtle, and I was like, well, it's worth a try. And I got all these messages from the turtle that when I shared with her, it totally made sense. Like they were describing things in her life or how she treated them. And I guess that's how I discovered that I could do it.
That's really cute. I'm not going to lie.
It's so cute. And hamsters and guinea pigs, I didn't know that these types of animals would be able to communicate or that sophisticated.
That's really cool. Do people come to you often to connect to their past pets?
Yeah, they do. It's more frequent that people come to me for their like human people that have passed away. But yeah, people who, especially who had dogs companions because they're so close, like losing a dog is awful, and the relationship there, they will usually be the ones that will come to talk to their animal or cats.
Yeah.
But I have talked to I reminded even a bearded dragon.
That is so cool. You talk to dragons.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I love that. Now, can you connect people to like animal guides?
Yeah, that is such a cool thing. And I'm really grateful for being able to have the knowledge from First Nations people about spirit animals, because I wouldn't have known that they were a thing if I didn't receive this knowledge. At first, I mean, angels will communicate through nature, and I would see the same animal over and over and over again. And the animal, so I'd look up the meaning of the animal, thinking that the angels were using that meaning, that symbol of the animal, to communicate with me. Then I realized my spiritual teacher is Ute, and so he actually like talks to owls and hawks. So he kind of taught me more about spirit animals and having a spirit animal. And so I started reading. There's a book called Animal Speak. There's a few books out there. And so when I realized that I could talk to the animals who are alive, I figured, well, now I understand the signs about whether or not something is a spirit animal. And so there are signs to know if this animal is a spirit animal. And then because they also are giving us an energy, just like the angels or spirit guides, they have specific messages that I receive from my clients and see them. I can tell a client, oh, a spirit animal is like a lemur or something. But of course, I think we all have many, many, many spirit animals. So I like to receive a message from the animal, but it could be very different from if I looked up the animal in a book, what they symbolize. But I kind of like to put both of them together.
So my Patronus, since we're in Harry Potter land, I'm just kidding.
I love Harry Potter.
I'm joking because he said something about Harry Potter earlier. My Patronus is a rabbit, but I'm going to have to connect with you to find out what my spirit animal is.
Yeah, and I do want to say that I'm not like I don't feel like I'm I'm the spirit animal guru, like guru or like person that knows everything about spirit animals. But what, in my experience, just how I see it is that, like I said, we have many, and I think some come to us at a certain point in our time, and so yeah, luckily it's fun and nice to be able to see one spirit animal or a spirit animal, or one of many. I just want to say that's like, I don't feel like I am the total expert on spirit animals.
Now, speaking of experts, you do teach classes, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about your classes?
Well, I really feel right now that my calling is to teach intuitive development. And so I created this course that is almost so my course is called Introduction to Intuitive Development, and it's a 9-week Zoom course. So it's online through Zoom. And basically it's based on what I learned from my teacher. She gave me permission to use the exercises and the lessons from my learning with her. But I did that, and it took me a year. I worked with her for a year privately. So I kind of condensed it and then used, in my work as a psychic and channel, created my own techniques and modalities to teach people how to develop their gifts. So basically, it's kind of like a crash course on figuring out your way of being psychic, removing your blocks to your intuition, because all of us, every human being walking on this earth has a block to their intuition. And I'm still like working on removing blocks. It's just like your rational mind is there. So removing the blocks to your intuition and then discovering which way you are intuitive. So you could be feeling like you're clairvoyant, where you see, clairaudient, where you hear, and I'll talk about all those ways. And then we do actual practical exercises to help develop your intuitive ability so that you are able to actually give mini readings, and you're also able to use it in your own life in making decisions. We also talk about grounding, clearing, and protecting your energy. And I teach how to channel angels, meet your spirit guide, channel your spirit guide, meet an animal guide, teach how to connect with deceased loved ones, and meditations and opening up your chakras. And by the end of it, everyone so far has been able to give a basic reading. And then I have an advanced class just for the people who take my intro class.
And where can people find how to sign up for these classes and just more information about you?
Well, they can go to my website, www.sarahitkin.com, and you'll probably see it on the link for this podcast because It's hard to spell my. I mean, my last name is so weird.
No, it's okay. We absolutely put the links out there.
Yeah, and then you'll see there's on the menu there's intuitive development, and I do also want to say that I work with people individually who want to take it like a real strong deep dive and maybe do this professionally, or just be able to like have their lessons be very tailored and just for them, and like just having that one-on-one time. So I do that as well, and then you'll see the information for my course. And I like to cycle it very often. So the next one is going to start on February 28th. But if you can't do that class and you really want to do it, you can let me know, and I'll just keep we'll make arrangements, and I'll just put it out when you're available to do it.
I love that. Do we have any final thoughts before we wrap up this amazing episode?
I just want to say that there's so many other questions I have for you, and I'm definitely interested in searching out some things with you when it comes to dreaming and how to develop that even more, because I feel like it feels stronger and stronger every day, and I keep a dream journal and all of that. So just filling that out, I think for me personally would be something that I'd want to contact you with and see where that goes.
I would be so honored. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
John Thomas, do you have any final thoughts?
No, definitely interested in the angel channeling and the colors and all of that. That's absolutely amazing. And I've never seen colors. And if I were Ashley today, I probably would have thought that I was hallucinating or losing my mind from trying to do yoga because I don't do yoga very well. So, yeah, I'm just glad you're here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored. I'm truly honored. Thank you.
Do you have any final thought you'd like to share, Sarah? Anything else you'd like to touch on?
Well, I think I'd like to say that I really want to support you as you people, or anyone who's listening right now, because again, like these are really challenging times. I don't feel like you would be tuning into this episode if you were not intuitive yourself, and so I feel like my soul's purpose is to really support people with my intuitive coaching, because my background as a mental health therapist, and weaving all my abilities together to help people receive a different type of like therapeutic approach to healing, and also just the biggest, like my joy, like teaching. And I hope that if you have other ways of learning or just seeking and developing, I just, my wish for you is that you trust that you can do it, and to trust in your soul and your higher self, and that it's your birthright to be intuitive. It's your birthright to be an intuitive being, and that you can become so much more empowered once you access your innate gifts. Even if you don't think you have them, you do.
Thank you. That was so great. And look, it's our recording time, 1:11. So
Oh my God, amazing.
right at that time, I'm like, what is she saying? That's very important. So thank you so much for coming on. I am so glad that we were able to connect and get you on. And I hope to have you come on again. As BJ said, I'm sure we have many, many more questions and topics we'd love to talk about. And this time went by so quickly.
I would be so honored.
All right, John Thomas.
All right. Yes, thank you again, Sarah, for coming on. It's been amazing, and I can't wait to have you back. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your host. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing, amazing guests like Miss Sarah here.
And don't forget to check out 3hauntedpodcast.com for more information on our amazing guests, as well as merch. Until next time. Are you looking for more awesome podcasts? Head on over to withoutyourhead.com for access to the Without Your Head podcast network, where you'll find a variety of podcasts sure to keep you entertained and coming back for more.